Hey, what's up, YouTube? Welcome to Play It Peanut. I hope you guys are having a good, what is it, Wednesday? It's a Wednesday evening, isn't it? I'm just gonna move the camera back to a more neutral position. It's just me painting now. My son is settling down for the evening. So tonight we're gonna be working on the Arcane Emissary, and I'm gonna move my, geez, I have to keep adjusting the camera here. Woo! Man, how do you even... Sorry, guys. If you're watching this on playback, you might want to fast forward a little bit while I get the camera angle right. But yeah, anyways, here's the Arcane Emissary. And you can see I blocked in the major colors there. And then we're going to go ahead and start working on him. But first, I need to prep another model because I'm going to try to paint a couple of these models at the same time. I've got another commission just sitting here in front of me, and I want to get a couple of Malifaux models like squared away, like done and taken care of without breaking them, because that happens a lot. Let's go to... I'm just gonna put on my watch screen here. And so this is Misstep. This is one of the limited run models. It was like a Gen Con exclusive some years ago, I think back during the M2E era. And truth be told, I hated this model. I think it's not a great model. But I wanted a Howard Langston, and I wanted, and I figured, you know, let's just try it out. Let's paint one up and see if we like it. I already swapped the head because I hated the head on the original one. But right now, what I need to do is I need to get some primer on her. So let's do that. Let's get her all primed up and then get her ready to go. If I can find my primer and stuff. Okay. So yeah, this is what we're going to be working on tonight. If you have any questions or comments or anything about Malifaux 3rd edition or painting or anything like that, feel free to shoot me a comment. Say something in the chat, and we'll take it from there. Okay. All right. So... I think I may already have a clog. Before we've even started, that's annoying. Actually not. You can see we had to just glue the model to the edges of the base. This is a fairly poorly designed model, if I'm being honest with you. I hate models that won't stay on their base, like this one. It's sort of all over the place. But this is the one thing this model has going for it is it's such a simple design that it should paint relatively quickly. There's just not much you can do with this design. Well, it's like a stick figure, really. It's like I'm just painting a stick figure. You know, if you compare this to Mysterious or Mispack or Misdemeanor, definitely one of the worst of the limited, you know, the yearly mist models that they do. I don't even know what if they still do that, like what the Miss model is for this year, this Gen Con. I don't know. Let's see. Um, First thing though, we need to clear out, just clear our little clog. Shouldn't be too bad. But we'll get this going and we'll get to the painting here. I hope that works. Still a lot of primer in my gun right now, so we're barely kind of spritzing the. There we go. Barely kind of spritzing this primer on. Now we got a good, nice stream of primer. And get that nice and covered. So good. We'll dry that off. And then move on to gray. So we'll get this all cleaned up. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if I like this mini. We'll see. We shall see. We'll get it painted up and then we'll kind of take it from there. No contrasto. I actually do end up using contrast paints on these. But for some reason, it just becomes such a habit for me to start with this black. So I go black and then gray, and then sometimes a little bit of white before I start painting. But yeah, we will be using contrast for this, because why not? It's just so damn convenient. Why not? But I want to get her sort of caught up to where the Arcane Emissary is, so we can work on them both at the same time. Now for this model, the body of this of you know the spider torso will be mostly gold, and then I'm not sure what other colors you want to do here. Maybe she'll be wearing a blue top there, like a nice bright blue top. Let's give her a little color. I mean, the studio art for this is the those years when Malifaux was just everything was sort of that gray green color. I'll show you an example of it. But like if you look at all of the Malifaux art that was done, it's like they had a surplus of this weird gray green color, and they used it on every single like every single model had this gray green color. Where is the gray primer though? There it is. Yeah, you just use this neutral gray. I could start with this primer and be fine. It's just like a habit of mine to not just start black for some reason. And I cannot explain it because I pretty much, especially with this model, it's not like I really need a zenithal on it. Like you got nothing here that's really gonna benefit from a gradient. There's her little. You notice I did a head swap on her to make her. I just wanted her to look a little cooler than she does. The whole bald head, and I wanted her to look almost like a showgirl type bot. Even though it's super expensive to run this model with showgirls now. I'm sorry, performer, with the performer keyword, as they'll call it. All right, let's do. Now let's just knock out the white, and then we'll start painting. Does not need much white to do this. Really, the white is just for top of the hair, face, and the top of the skin there. We'll get some edge of the claws, a little bit of white doesn't hurt there. Okay. Anything else that needs no benefit from that? But as you can see, there's like no zenithal prime. Did I just get demonetized? What did I get demonetized for? Did I say something? Did they say something horrible? Did they say showgirl? What did I say? I called her something derogatory? Oh man. A showgirl? Am I not? I don't know. Did I just assume her gender? Maybe. Yeah. Oh well. Time to start over. Okay. Yeah. All right. There we go. Let us go ahead and yeah. They don't call them, they're now performer, but but that specific unit type is still called showgirl. Not the unit type, but the name of the unit is still showgirl. So take that for what you will. And let's get some. Now I noticed something. I've been using this Blick #1 to do most of the painting, and it's pretty good. But if you really want like the contrast to move the way it's supposed to move, you should use a brush with a bigger belly on it. So that Raphael is fantastic for this type of work. Just passing that little opinion along. I think the Raphael is great for contrast paints because it does have a bigger belly than most of the other brushes, that can keep a good tip. All right, so let's start. So we'll give her, first I'm just going to give her a little Dark Oath Flesh to start. What did I do with it? Here we go. I've been liking the larger bomb wicks. Yeah. They do the job, right? Because in order to make the contrast paints really rely on motion, right? You want to be able to move the product along the surface you're painting. And then the weird thing is you want to be able to move along that surface, but then you can't really you don't want to make too many mistakes. That's the part that kind of sucks, right? So like you can see I'm getting the Dark Oath Flesh here where I want, and I don't really want to, but conversely, I don't really want to spill over. I don't want to spill over into the parts of the miniature that will not be Dark Oath Flesh. Now I realize I should probably, oh yeah, I actually did do a little spillover. Oops. It's okay. I should probably go a little paler on this skin because, she's sort of necrotized a little bit in the process of making her into a steampunk a Steamborg Executioner. But I think we're okay. Right? I think that's okay. And with the skin tones, you really kind of have to trust what they're doing. You have to get enough on there. Like you can't really be terribly timid with that. But they look pretty good. The fact that her eyes are so tiny, that kind of pisses me off, but that's not the fault of the contrast paints. That's the fault of the sculpt. Okay. So claws. Let's do the main body. This cyan in yellow. Hardest I found is getting the paint to pull off smooth surface. Yes, it's true. Yeah, because sometimes you have a little bit more on there than you want, and then you want to find a good stopping point without leaving a pool on there. Yeah. So her body is gonna be the robot body. The robot torso here is gonna be like a gold color. So everything up into the blades on the robot stuff will be gold. This is going to be a very simple paint scheme on her. But she'll pop, you know what I mean? She'll have a little bit of she'll have a good contrasting color scheme that'll hopefully draw your eyes around and to and fro. Okay. All right. See ya. Hey, what's up, Nelson? How's it going? Yeah, this is Misstep. This is an arcanist enforcer. She is this is one of the special edition minis that they put out a few years ago. Right? Yeah, she's an alt for Howard Langston. And then I swapped the head. So she's normally bald with like wires for hair. And I didn't like that much. So I wanted mine to be a little more human looking. So I put I did a head swap. All right. See you in a bit, Richter. And I don't know how much I like this miniature. We'll see. We're just gonna paint her up and then I'll see. I mean, obviously, I put her together, I paid the money, and I'm gonna paint her. But I do actually like the original. I like the original metal Howard Langston too. So, all right. So I'm still waiting for. I guess I can block the blue in right now. So this top here will be blue. I guess she'll just be blue and gold. And I gotta paint in her eyes and her lips and that kind of stuff. She's kind of cool. Yeah, let's do. Now I've got to decide if I want to do the bright Talisar blue, which looks awesome pretty much every time you use it, or if I use ultramarine blue, which I'm not nearly as impressed with. It's dark, which is cool, but I don't know. I'm really liking the brighter scheme. So I think I am going to we'll use the Talisar. Talisar blue is just an awesome color, and right now it's next to impossible to find locally. So let's use it because we can. All right, just kind of get it. I mean, this model is as simple as they come as far as the color scheme. It's just a half robot, half spider. I mean, half lady, half spider. Half robot spider. And that Talisar blue, as you can see, it really gives you a nice contrast there. I could have gone for like the I have a cool turquoise color as well, but I don't know, man. I just like this blue, and just been rocking the blue and gold on a lot of my own Arcana stuff. Let me show you the color that they have for Misstep here. Oh, that's funny. I could have done she kind of has like this like G-string type robot backside that I could have painted flesh tone. That would have been super funny. Probably, well, no, definitely would have offended somebody. Oh, whoops. All right, and that's that. Okay. So let's, right now, my plan is we're going to block out all the major colors and then come back in and start painting some detail. And that's kind of what I did on the Emissary as well. Okay, so right now, I'm going to go ahead and we're going to move over to the steel parts of the model. So again, I'm not even going right now. I'm not even barely just starting the gold and whatnot. But right now, we're going to hit the steel. So Basilicanum Gray. And that's going to go here on the basically all the blades, the fingers. And right now it looks kind of odd because the yellow is just so bright on there. But we'll get it to tone down. Okay. Hit the little wires. Actually, I think I may need to go in and do them black, like actual paint black, not contrast paint black, or I'm sorry, black gray. And we'll hit these. There's just not much to this model. It's like, yeah, okay, super easy to paint, but just not a whole lot going on. It's gonna look fine though when we put it all together. Will it look like impressive? I don't think so. Like I've seen well painted missteps before, but it's never been a sculpt to be like, wow, I can't believe that's a thing. It's always just sort of, okay, yeah, that's a female Howard. Okay. I just feel like we could have done more with this sculpt than what you've got here. So now I'm just getting this random steel plate that's on the base. Okay. And we are, I mean, other than hair and a couple other things, we're pretty well color blocked. We'll give that a minute. I'll show you guys a couple things. Okay, let's give that a minute to dry. I know it looks weird right now. You just gotta trust in the process, right? Okay. Where's that box? Let me show you guys the box art for this. Okay. Here's the thing. In M2E, everything was sort of this weird, like greenish gray color. It was all sort of greenish gray. Every unit looked, they see this color of the background? Like everything was this color in M2E. And it was annoying. So if you actually were going to follow box art for stuff, you would end up like using all of your olive and all of your like all of your metallic pea green for everything, and it's just not very good. Okay, the next thing I need to do is now I'm going to burnish this gold. Okay, and one of the nicest way to do this is just take some Guilliman flesh, and we're gonna coat our gold surfaces with it, and it's gonna give it a like a sepia tone and make the gold look burnished. Okay. So the gold starts to look a little more burnished, a little more realistic. So it's just shading it really nicely there. And then really, once we do the face and get all that in, the rest of this is just forcing the contrast out to really pop. So again, this is a nice thing. Like a lot of people would just hit this with contrast paints and be done. And you can totally do that and it's going to look fine. We're just going to add really just minor stuff. But sometimes that minor stuff just hits the, hits the model the right way. It gives it some focus, and then then you get an idea of where your eyes should be going on this model. Let me see if I can actually paint her eyes in. These are super tiny. She got some really, really tiny eyes. This is going to be interesting. So I need, where is my Raphael? And wet palette. Jeez, those eyes are so tiny. Oh gosh. So if you're just joining us on stream, let us know what you're painting and what you should be painting. Or if you have any topics for Malifaux 3rd edition, I would be happy to discuss that. And really, like, I'm just getting amped to play more games of it. Overall, I do like the game. It's fun again. I'm enjoying it. There's some stuff. There's a couple things I still don't like about the game, but as for right now, I'm really enjoying it, and I'm having fun kind of painting my way back through the stuff that I really liked in the first place, right? Because I've been an Arcanist player for Malifaux since day one. First edition. And it's just my faction. I don't know. I also like the new faction. Sounds kind of fun. I think if I were to go into another faction, it would either be that the Society of Explorers or whatever they're called, or Ten Thunders. 10 Thunders, because they seem to have some really fun playstyles right now. 10 Thunders is looking pretty good from where I'm sitting. Looks like they got a lot of fun stuff. Oh, hey, while I'm doing this, let's paint some eyeballs on these are the Blacksmith players that my son and I were painting earlier today. So let's get them going as well. All right, so I got an O cinder there. Here's the furnace my son painted. It looks pretty cool, doesn't it? Like in terms of just what he did with just kind of slopping contrast paints on the model. Pretty damn cool, if you ask me. Okay. Let's get some white. So we're going to paint eyeballs in. And basically, eyeballs and a little bit of lip color is all I need to do to finish O Cinder. But I am going to paint Furnace's skin in. And because, I have two options. I probably will undercoat it and then just paint contrast, because I'm lazy now. Because contrast lets me do stuff like that. And then if I need to, I'll highlight again. Okay. This sucks to do on camera. It's tiny little eyes. That sucks. That is not fun. Okay. Yeah, that wasn't great. They're okay. The eyes themselves are okay. It's not my best work, obviously, but it's okay. Cinder here needs a touch-up on her hair, it looks like. So I promised my son, if we finish the blacksmiths, he can buy another team, or he can buy 6 more blacksmiths. So he's been toiling over that decision kind of for the rest of the night. He's really been trying to figure out what he wants to do. Okay, that wasn't great at all. It just didn't look good. I hate eyes that are like buried under hair like that. Hair or hoods, where it's changed the shape of the eye. I think a lot of people, oh gosh, yeah, my son, hold on. Wow. He really caked paint on there to the point where I have to clean it off. Like it really, wow. It's like tacky. There's so much paint on there. And that left, it was like leaving my fingerprint. in the base. We don't want to do that. That's another reason why you don't paint the lip of the base until the very end. Because you could get your finger. Oh gosh. Yeah, I screwed that up. Hold on. My white decided to act all liquidy. Now I got big old white bug eyes. We'll fix it. Okay. Now I gotta just dot these eyes. These eyes are so small though. They're really, really tiny eyes here. Oh gosh. Hold on. Didn't even look. It doesn't even look presentable. Need a little more white there. There we go. Oh gosh. I actually care more about the face of Misstep here than the Guild Ball models. Because Misstep, that's all she got, man. As a model, she don't have much else. Okay, you can see teeny tiny little pupils there. Okay, that kind of worked. We need a little more white there. Oh boy, some of these models with the realistic eye sizes, a little annoying. I know that they're trying to encourage me not to paint the eyes, but I gotta, man. You're gonna be staring right. This model needs to be staring right at you. There we go. There we go. That worked. All right, let's paint Cinder's eyes in. I think we're just good with that. And then this man here. You got the big old bug eyes, but we're going to trim those. First, we're going to dot the eyes, and then we'll trim. That way we know where to trim. There we go. Cool. Cool. Okay. Next step. I'll show you how I do, like if I need to fix areas to go with skin. All you really do at that point is you just take a super light, warm skin color, like fair highlight, and we're gonna end up undercoating all of the skin areas, all the flesh areas. And you can do this, you can actually use this color no matter what skin tone you're gonna use for contrast, because this is almost like your what's it called? not Runeseer, but your Wraithbone for Citadel. This is like your Wraithbone undercoat. Right? So you can see I'm also using it to help shape the eyes on this model. Rest in peace, Mr. Furnace. He is now dead in the fluff, this one. Okay. And then we'll paint the open window chesticle. So you can see just how super pale this color is. This is what you want. Okay. Got a couple fingers there. It's got, and this here is exposed skin. Anything else? I think that's it, really. All right. Once the skin comes in, my kid will be pretty happy with this. He'll be pretty happy. And he's mostly happy that he's going to get to pick another team, because he finally did what he promised to do, which is finish painting his current team. Finish painting your current team, you can get another team. There we go. Well, that eye kind of makes her look like she's a little bit crazy, but we're okay with that. Oh, sorry. All right. So now we're gonna. I'm sorry we're skipping around, but this is kind of how I work. We skip around, but we get it all done. That's how it happens, folks. I paint in a little bit lip color here. That's a very bright color, so I'm gonna just very lightly put it on. Right, you can barely tell that's there. I just don't like that cinder model. It's not great. Let's put this here. Anyone have any suggestions on what color they would want her hair to be? And before you suggest pink, I'm going to tell you right now, I'm more of a traditional hair color guy. So I like blonde, black, brunette, redhead. Take your pick. I guess we could. I think black would go cool. Black or brunette would be kind of cool. I think redhead looks a little weird. Blonde would work. Let's do brunette. Let's do a brunette color. Let's do snakebite leather for her hair. And then see how she kind of has like feathers and stuff in her hair? I'll save that. We'll save like the bow and all that kind of stuff too. Oh. Okay. I just like this. Oh, those are actually like hairpins. Okay. Well, I can paint those like the steel color. That's fine. So she got her. So this hair might actually be more like black, but I'm down with this color. This snakebite leather color is kind of good. It's like a good brunette color. Yeah, looks pretty good. And if we want her to be really girly, let's paint. Yeah, let's do that. Let's paint. Let's put a little pink on the model. Really kind of give this one a little bit more of a girly appearance to her. There, and it'll match the lipstick. So this model is not going to see much action from me, but she may see the field when I'm fielding Fitzsimmons, or if I'm playing like an old school Ramos type list for casual games, obviously, because Ramos isn't tournament legal. Boo, boo. Okay, what's that? Basilicanum. We'll do that for the hairpin. You see how the skin tone's looking good though, right? If you, like I said, skin tone, the contrast color skin tones is something that I've seen a lot of people struggle with because they don't understand how they want them to cover, and so your movement with that is fairly important. Getting that the way you want, and then being happy with it. But I think that's pretty cool. Pretty stoked on that. Okay. Let's go back to the blacksmiths for 1 second because I got to do his skin. And I could do, I think Oathkeeper is still better than Guilliman Flesh for actual flesh. I like Guilliman Flesh as a shade for gold, but Dark Oath seems to be where it's at. If you want a good, like solid skin tone, Dark Oath is where it's at. So we're gonna do Dark Oath. Okay. All right. And then we just dress the bases on this guy in Cinder, and we can take them off the table. They're where they need to be. That looks pretty cool, I think, for a model that my son did. Pretty awesome. The sword is wild, but pretty cool. 3rd edition rule, what do you mean? For Malifaux? If you're talking Malifaux, it's already out. CQ has rule books there, and we have, and then you can also just download the rules online. Want to If you want to grab a rule book and give it a read, go to CQ. I'm pretty sure they still have a few copies left, or just head over to the weird website and download the rules. Yeah, you know what? You're right. It's not the easiest thing to find. It's really kind of frustrating to find the third edition rules on their website. Let me see if I can shoot you a link. It's a Dropbox link, and the Dropbox takes you to a PDF, and then you can look at the rules from there. All right, it's kind of cool that the blacksmiths. My son has a he has a playable blacksmiths team for Guild Ball. That's awesome. So I guess he and I are going to grab a game at some point with his new team. How fun is that? And he painted half the team. He painted half the team, and he wanted me to paint the other half of the team. So he picked the 3 models that he liked the look of the most. So I think he painted Iron, Anvil, and Furnace, and I painted Ferrite, Cinder, and Sledge, I think. Okay. All right. Let's get back to painting this bad boy. Right? So now you can see he's looking pretty dope. But we need to do all the details, right? And I need to punch up this gold look a little bit more. So now I'm going to move over to, we need to go to a much deeper brown. So I can either go Snakebite, or I can go super dark and go for Wildwood. And I think I'm leaning towards Wildwood. I think Wildwood's going to give us a really cool deep color, right? The whole point of this like non-metallic is you force the shadows as deep as you can go, and then force the edge highlights as light as you can go, right? So if I do look right here into the shadows, use a little water to kind of feather it out, right? This is really the fun stuff. Is right, working in that deeper color. I'm also gonna use that deeper color here around the nose. Really, this is just to help define the areas of the gold. And then when we, oh wow, I don't even really need to do much of that here. But when we do the edge highlight, then it'll really punch up. You'll see. You'll see. I'm just gonna feather that out. Right. And then down in this area, as you can see, lots of shadow underneath there. So you know, you're purposely painting into the shadow and then feathering up, right? So I paint into that shadow, feather that feather the color up the piece of armor or whatever, right? Ooh, that was weird. That really kind of streaked funny. I ended up pushing that into some weird spots. Okay. Yeah, too much contrast paints there. We're getting some severe lag, aren't we? Apologies for the lag, guys. Okay. Okay. Cool, cool, cool. Sorry about the lag, guys. All right. Let me type in. Okay. I don't know. Our cable has been pretty terrible lately. So here we're gonna darken this up. Right. Again, just play off the shadows a little bit more. I'm not trying to make a new color of metal so much as I'm trying to grow more depth in the shadows there. Right. The better these shadows are, the more you'll believe the effect of metal here. So just punching up shadow a little bit more. There we go. Okay. Okay. Cool. Looking good, looking good. Now it's time to really highlight the steel. So we're going to do that with white. And I'm also going to highlight the edge of these little blue things. Okay. And I know it's super laggy, so if you guys have any comments or anything, apologize for the lag. So you see right now I'm just catching the edges of the rings there. And this is really light. Just a light one once over to get the light bouncing off the rings, light bouncing off these canisters. All right. Get some a little bit of white down here. Give those flames a little more believability. Okay. And then we're going to work on highlighting these armor plates. All right. Again, the idea here is just get a nice good edge highlight down, and that'll help convey this idea that we're looking at metal. We're looking at steel in this case. And I'm mostly using just the flat edge of the brush here. So you can see if I just still have a little bit of white on this brush, and if I just very carefully, whoa, that was the opposite of carefully. And what I'm trying to do here is catch that edge of the blade with my brush. It looks like I got some water instead. So I'm going to feather that out, and we'll try again. I need a little more white. This thing is really collapsing, isn't it? Okay. I hope that helped. I don't know if it did. Hope it did. Let's catch this edge. So catching the top edge of the blade, the bottom edge of the blade. It's gonna help. Whoa! Ah! My horn's locked with the other model there. Okay, and I think I'm gonna actually have to freehand a little of this line, which I'm terrible at, but enough to get me started. Oh gosh, no, it keeps hitting. Keeps hitting. So that's not gonna work. All right. I think that's the gist of what we can do. I was hoping to be able to catch this line right here with my white, but it doesn't look like. It looks like that's too soft of an edge. It doesn't quite grab the way you would want it to in order to give it a nice sharp highlight. But I can still grab the edges of the blade and the tip and that edge, right? And that edge, right? Okay. And this, still a bunch of edges here I can catch. And the brighter these are, the sharper these are, the more convincing the steel looks, right? The better I am at catching and highlighting stuff like that. Pretty stoked on this. Whoa. just a thick white line of paint now. That's a little much. Okay. That's a little much. Feather that out. There we go. And then the front here. I need to put together a how to play Malifaux series of videos. So if I can ever take a break from painting and doing commissions, maybe I can set aside, probably take me 2 or 3 evenings to do it the way I want to do it. But I'll get to work on it because a number of people have asked me. So that's enough reason for me to do it. If people ask, if you guys ask me to do stuff, like if you want to see stuff on the channel, I will try to make sure it happens. Especially stuff like that, where it's pretty fun to teach. Malifaux is a pretty fun game to teach because you get the cards and people get excited. There's all kinds of cool, super fluffy abilities, and so demos tend to be very narrative. And if you do a demo right for Malifaux, people get pretty damn excited about it. Again, a little too excited there. So some of these you just feather out. That's not a very convincing edge highlight because it's too thick. And that one's pretty good. You know, I'm not doing the sharpest lines, but it's, as long as it's somewhat convincing, we should be all right. Okay, looking pretty good. Overall, looking pretty good. Okay, so now I need to highlight the gold. Well, actually, before we do that, let's highlight the white on her. Again, we're working on 2 models at the same time. So this is nice, just being able to catch the edges of her little claws here. Her little clawed hand. That's kind of nice. Same on the other side. It's just nice to be able to do that super quickly, right? There's a tiny little thing I want to fix on her face too. Teeny tiny little thing. See if I can do it without wrecking it. I just want to close off that eyeball. Did it. Nice. Okay. Okay. Let's highlight these blades. I don't know, in this edition, I don't know how good of a beater this model is. I would assume fairly good. It is a designated beater, and it has been for many editions beforehand. Very fun model though. Okay. All right. Why's my light so far away? See if I can brighten up our screen here. Okay. Cool. Looking pretty good so far. Not a whole lot of complaints. So for now, the edgiest of the edgelord highlights here for the gold, we're gonna do this ice yellow. There's also golden yellow, which is pretty cool. Hold on. Do I want that? Golden yellow? Golden yellow is a little warmer. So maybe I do want that. That's better. Let's see what I can see. Golden yellow would be pretty good. Two brown. You guys have any questions or anything? Let me know. So Nelson, you're playing Rasputina, which is probably a great entry into the Arcanist faction. Then, you know, it sounds like you have some interest in running the Performers, which is my favorite crew in the whole game. It's actually, truth be told here, it's a big reason why I'm back in M3E, because in M2E, Colette was so boring. She was so boring. I hated her playstyle. Was dumb. It revolved around shitting out scheme markers everywhere. She didn't have the ability to bury. It was not. It was bad. Like she didn't do the cool tricks that I was accustomed to doing with her. So yeah, it's up. Yeah, here we go. Golden yellow. Yeah, she didn't do. She did something. She did one thing very effective. Well, actually, a couple things very effective in M2E. But they were boring. They made her playstyle boring. It was use prompts and shit out scheme markers, and it was super boring. And she was, she definitely had a fall from grace from version 1, where she was arguably overpowered. Like I can accept that, and but I think right now in M3E, I think she's in a very good place. She's very, very exciting to play. I don't think she's one of the better masters in the game. I think she's definitely on the mediocre side, maybe even weaker than that. So take that for what you will. And like the fact that she's weaker now, but much more interesting to play, has me back and excited about the game. Because I wanted to be able to play that crew, and it's a high degree of difficulty crew. So I wanted to be able to play it, and I wanted to be able to learn new things with it. Play a playstyle that isn't that popular, right? It's definitely not. Her playstyle is definitely not killy, and it's a lot of mobility. It's a lot of trickery that I absolutely love about her. Is the trickery, and then just the aesthetic of the showgirls is so cool, right? When you put a showgirl crew down, and like that's my team. It's a bunch of entertaining women in dresses, right? That to me is awesome. Like that's what I want to see in more of these miniature games. Is I don't, killing things and removing models is a viable strategy in any of these games, any of these like skirmish games. However, for too many of them, it's the only thing, right? For Warhammer 40K, yeah, there's objectives and whatnot, but the mechanics by which you achieve those objectives is removing enemy models. Same with Infinity, same with a lot of other games out there that are very, very, very popular. I get that. But I wanted, for me, I like the sports games. I like the games that allow some of that, and it's a viable strategy, but it's one viable strategy of many different types of strategies. That's what gets me excited for these types of games. And Malifaux has always kind of been that way, right? That's one of the things that it aside, set it apart from other games, contemporary games, um, that it came out with along the same time as, say, your Warmahordes, Infinity, and obviously 40K being the grandpappy of them all. But if you look, all those other three games are mostly, they're war based, and that's cool, right? We want to play battles. That's most of us are into that. But Malifaux was a breath of fresh air. It was like, wait a minute, most of these, at least half of the miniature line was female, and you get sick of painting dudes. It's not that I'm not like some hyper feminist or anything like that. Um, you get sick of painting dudes, and frankly, like buff dudes going to war. That's what we did for 15 years the first 15 years of my wargaming career were buff dudes fighting wars, and it got boring to me. It's like, okay, all I got to do is figure out the most efficient ways to remove your models while minimizing my loss of models. That's kind of how I treated the games. And then you math it out, and you do what you do. You math it out and you tweak your list, and you hope for the dice rolls, and you don't want to remove your mini and that kind of thing. And I'm like, I'm done with that. It's too common. It's like every game is that. And I wanted to play something different. Malifaux came around at the perfect time. That was like, for me, it was like it was like a watershed moment in my personal gaming history, because here was something that I found I really wanted to do with miniature gaming, right? I wanted to play this crazy aesthetic and play a game more around mobility, trickery, control, um, outmaneuvering your opponent, focusing on completing your objectives. It's almost like running a caper, right? And it's one of the things I liked about Relic Knights too. That shoot, I shouldn't have even mentioned their name, but it was one of the things I liked was you're running a caper, and you know you do everything you can to prevent your opponent from running their caper faster than you can run your caper, and you killed models when you had to, when it was when it was critical to your path to victory. You did it, but it's not the only thing you did, right? And if you spent the whole game just trying to kill models in these types of games, you're not going to do very well overall. You're still going to lose a bunch of games. Even if you just got singularly focused on killing the other guy. That said, if that's what you want to do, these games they still offer plenty of factions that's what they do, and that's their path to victory, right? Think butchers for Guild Ball and that kind of stuff. So they still have it, but is butchers the only way you can play Guild Ball? No. I'm sure some VBOR fans will chime in and say, no, it is the only way you can play butchers, but you get my drift, right? You can play fast teams. You can play slow grindy teams. You can play control teams. There's so many. That's what I love about these types of games, is that they're not just what we were all used to, which is you put your army down, I put my army down, we figure out who's better at removing the other guy's models and pack up and go. You know what I mean? It's a very old, outdated way of kind of handling miniature games. I think there's still a lot left in terms of what can be developed for miniature games. That I think one of the most liberating things, one of the things that's going to lead to um, a lot of innovation in miniature games is when people can really freely start to develop games that aren't based around removing enemy models, that aren't combat or even conflict based. That's going to be really interesting. You know, is it going to be like almost a newer form of D&D per se? But maybe not. Maybe it's not like D&D, but it's non-combative. Maybe you use miniatures to solve puzzles. Like, for example, the Faceless. Did I ever finish my KDM campaign? Dude, full disclosure, I never even started the KDM campaign. I'll explain that in a minute. Um, yeah, the Faceless is interesting because it uses positioning of miniatures and magnets in a cooperative sense. That was really cool. It's not a combative game. You never remove models in the game, and you never even like gear up for combat. You're playing a cooperative game that relies on magnetic fields and the manipulation of magnetic fields using your miniatures to help accomplish that. How cool is that, right? That's somebody. I think that's a completely different way of thinking about what can you really do with these really awesome miniatures that people love to paint. Um, I think it's great. Regarding KDM, um, gosh, okay, so I painted a bunch of KDM, if you recall. It's not entirely painted. The set isn't entirely painted, but I was assembling things and starting to paint them and all of this stuff. And what happened in the middle of that, right, while I was painting that, is I continued to read more of the rules and learn more about how to run a KDM campaign and all that good stuff. And if I'm just being completely honest with you guys. I was overwhelmed. It was like, that's a lot of record keeping. That's a lot of my life gone to play one game. And so at the time, Guild Ball was picking up. We had a pretty growing, pretty active meta. We were still playing some Batman at that time. And I was just like, okay, well, KDM, you're not for me. You're for a group that can get together, fairly regularly and are content to just play their campaign, right? And I know I was gonna stream it, but a lot of other things happen too, like real life stuff. Um, there's some real life stuff going on right now that has limited my ability. I used to be able to stream every night, and I can't do that anymore. I get too tired now, for one, but two, two kids, two toddlers trying to go to sleep every night and living our life essentially. Wow, that did not look great. We'll keep working on that. Two toddlers essentially made it so I can't stream every night. I've gotta be more helpful. I've gotta be around more late in the evenings when my little 2-year-old, who's still awake right now, by the way, and I need to help put him down. Stuff like that. Like I can't justify streaming every night if the little guys are still awake, if mom still needs help up there, if there's um, so there's that side of it. Then there's the work side of it, right? Work is getting more busy. I know this is a bunch of excuses, and I hate excuses. I really do. Excuses drive me crazy. But sometimes they're legit, and you know sometimes you just have to admit defeat. Sometimes, like, and this is I would rather lose that fight than lose a fight in career or family or something like that. Um, it's still possible because I haven't sold the set, and it is super fun to paint. Still very fun to paint. But here's the thing: I think you know it's going to compete. It's going to be competing with the convenience of Guild Ball. It's going to be competing with um, the fast pace of Aristea, and it's going to be competing with so many other things. It's like I can do a half dozen other things, or I can do Kingdom Death. That's really what it boils down to. I can do a half dozen other things, or I can just settle in and do KDM. And if you ask me, my life, I wanna enjoy the half dozen other things most of the time, right? Um, I in an ideal world, I take a 3-week vacation and paint it all up, and then we get together like twice a month, right? You start off slow. We go twice a month, the same night. We hop on Discord, or we hop on Google Hangouts or whatever, and then we go for it. We just play our campaign, and it's awesome, and everybody's happy, whatnot. That's the dream. That's right. That's kind of fantasy land, but it's super cool. KDM streamed would be awesome, I think. I watched the Beasts of War KDM games; those are fun. I think we could probably. What I need is, I need, I would need like 3 players that are just glue, right? 3 players that could just hold it, hold it together. That's what I would need. Hold it together, that could be reliable, that could say, okay, yeah, we're gonna meet again, and we're gonna knock out another little bit of our campaign. I just, man, I can't even like commit to like a Blood Bowl league. You gotta love it. You're playing, yeah, totally, yeah, absolutely. But our the way gaming works around me is, it's like there are really a bunch of. I look at it as like there's a bunch of concentric circles, right? Concentric circles of people. Um, for example, there are people that I game with that play Guild Ball. They love Guild Ball, and we have a good time playing it. And I run my monthly Guild Ball event, which is I've got one this Sunday, so monthly Guild Ball event, right? And then among those people that I play Guild Ball with, some of those people play Aristea, and then there's another part of a concentric circle playing Aristea, enjoying Aristea. We do that some nights when we're not playing Guild Ball, or sometimes we do both. Right, and then you have the people that I play the Batman board game with, like Nelson and Jason, and then there's, even with those guys, they have the guys that they play Legion with. So you see, it's all concentric circles. You play these games with some people, you play those other games with other people, right? And uh, it makes a single campaign much less attractive, because it's not like because like my one night a week, I could play my campaign with the 3 people who are 3 to 4 people that are admittedly going to be super awesome, and I get that. Or I have the opportunity to hang out with and game with another half dozen or more people playing all of these other games. I think that shading is too. I think it's too much. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to work some yellow back in to kind of bring gold back to the flavor here. Yeah, you feel a bit chained to it. It's not that I don't. It's not that I don't think it's a good idea. I think it's a fantastic idea, right? I love the idea of playing a campaign. It's great. Well, how the story unfolds and how people get super involved in it. And for me, it's like, oh, then I get more excited I can't wait to paint the next villains that you guys run into. Another thing that somebody told me though, and I don't know if this is true, that sounds kind of annoying, is that like the hunts, they say that the hunts start to feel repetitive because it's like you have to keep fighting that lion. Like you fight the lion a certain number of times, you fight the stag a certain number of times, and then you get these special events, and it's like, okay, now you get to fight something different. And I'm like, okay, that's cool, but it's also kind of like that part where, okay, you just fight the lion a bunch of times. That doesn't sound that cool. Uh, yes, yes, we've been playing Batman Gotham City Chronicles. I had a 45-minute game recorded on my phone that I was gonna upload, but I think I was telling you guys there were like super loud GW fanboys there talking about how much they love Space Marines. Literally, that was the conversation. and it and they're 20-25 feet across the room, and they sound like they're standing directly in front of the microphone. I love the Space Marines, and it's like it's very hard to concentrate watching the video back. It was very hard to concentrate on what was going on in front of me because I kept hearing about, oh, this is the successor chapter. They were loyal to the emperor. Like that's all we were hearing. Uh, and I was gaming with Thomas and Sean, and Thomas and Sean are not quiet guys. Like they speak up and they're emotive and they're reactive when hilarious stuff is happening in our game. Like they're laughing, cheering, and whatnot. And it was just these super loud guys. There's one guy, he literally starts dancing when he starts talking about the stuff in his army. That's why we call it we call it peacocking, right? He was like doing a strut. I'm doing the dance in my chair right now. He's like doing this like strutting thing while he's talking about, oh yeah, and then you don't get your saves, and I get to re-roll, and you're gonna be just, and that's what's gonna happen. And he's dancing while he's explaining this stuff, and he does it like every time he's in the store. And I'm playing and usually I'm trying to play a game with Sean or Aaron or one of those guys. Like we're usually trying to play a game of Guild Ball, and I'm like, I have to laugh in the middle of those games. Like I start busting up laughing. And the worst is, I'm always worried that those guys don't, like, if they're not aware of what I'm laughing at, they might think I'm being a dick. Like I'm laughing because maybe I'm winning the game of Guild Ball, or maybe I'm losing the game of Guild Ball and I'm being a sore sport. So I'm sarcastically laughing at them. And, and I've had to explain to them, like, I'm not, like, Sean knows because he's laughing too. Like he knows exactly what I'm laughing at. But some other people I have to explain to them, like, I'm not. This has nothing to do with you. There's this conversation going on in the background. There's a dude literally like shifting his hips and leaning on things like you know like he's Jennifer Beals in Flashdance, just trying to like throw some booty out there while he's talking about his Space Marine chapter. It's, oh my god, it is the funniest thing, and I want to. You don't know how tempting it is for me to. I just want to grab the camera and just show you guys. I want to record it, but I don't want to be a dick and put the guy on the internet. But we need to somehow that needs to be communicated. Like we need to do a fake video or something where, because if we point it out, like if we point it out on the internet, I think the stories we're gonna get back are gonna be gold, because like we may not be conscious of it, but you've seen it, right? You've seen these guys peacock and they're like, oh yeah, and I have 4 flyers now, and you'll see. And they do like a whole dance. The volume in their voice goes up, and they're proud of themselves, and they just the shit-eating grin and the dance, and it's just, oh my gosh, like that needs to go. It needs to see the light of the world. Like it needs to be in broad daylight. We need an open discussion about this, folks, because I know. Uh, think about gamer crack. When they with the butt crack, and that was kind of mean, right? When they took pictures, they just took anonymous pictures of Magic the Gathering players. It was funny, but also kind of mean. Like, so I laughed, I giggled a little bit, and then I thought about, like, that's kind of shitty, right? Just kind of putting it out there. But the other side to it, and again, I'm not justifying it, but the other side to it is these are conversations that we have about gamers, like, oh, who didn't shower today? That kind of thing. And I know it sucks, right? I don't want to ridicule people anymore, but at the same time, it's like it's got to be discussed. Like we gotta be able to talk about it a little bit, right? Okay, sorry, I'm gonna go back and read some comments. Do the rules in Batman start getting easier process after a few plays, or do you need to stick the same heroes for the first few plays? No, it's you don't have to stick to the same heroes. You should print out player aids though. The game mechanics will get easier. They'll start being easier to understand. Your setup times will be faster. All of that gets better. You don't necessarily need to stick to the same heroes. If you have people that routinely have a hard time following along, then yes, you should. You should maybe stick to some of the same characters. Only play, yeah. Versus is interesting. Versus feels like a very tight, restricted thing, because in versus you never feel like you get to unload fully. Like you never really get to pull off that, and it's probably one of the best and worst features of that game is that there are only a few instances where you feel like you really get to unload, and it's usually in adventure mode, and it's usually like you're playing Batman or Orphan, and you have the push it to the limit ability where you can take another damage to gain another action cube. Um, there's stuff like that happens but it's really only relegated to adventure mode. Versus mode is very restricted, and I feel like versus mode is where the individual maps, really have a huge bearing on the game. And this is probably going to be criticism of versus mode, is that especially the bank map. Okay, if you're playing versus mode in the bank map, how the hell do you win that if you're the player that starts outside of the bank in any scenario? And most of the times it's the villain that starts outside the bank. But even like I've played hero outside the bank, and you get the advantage of a better crew. Like you have a better team for the player that starts outside the bank. But it's the choke points are crazy on these maps. Like we've determined, like, oh, okay, all I have to do is defend this point and this point, and just clog it up, and you can keep killing my guys as long as I can just stuff a body in there. You're not going to get through. You're not going to get through in time. right? Because the games are also very short. So, yeah, you gotta, yeah, and the the bank, the maps play such a huge part in versus mode that you got to be aware of it, and it it's the jury from me is not in yet on how balanced the versus mode is. I think unto itself, agnostic of the map, I'm sure it's very balanced. I would go on record and say, yeah, it's balanced. But once you put the map in and you're like, okay, all I got to do is stand here and prevent you, keep you outside for 2 turns, and I win, then it's bad. That's that's the one thing I think that Monolith needs to look at. Is they, if you're gonna have a versus mode, that map, you got to balance the the objectives with the map. Going in and rescuing 4 hostages in the bank is impossible. Haven't seen anyone do it. We've even like tried to figure out like, let's just remove the villain and just have people physically walk in and interact with the hostages to walk them out. And it was like, wow, you even without stopping to attack or being damaged, you still barely have enough time to get everybody out. That's crazy. I think they I think they need to rethink that scenario. I think there needs to be an easier way to free hostages. Or, they even have like, okay, you can blow holes into the bank. That's cool, whatever. But I feel like versus mode, they probably play tested it, got it to a point where they felt it was balanced, and then dropped the map considerations in afterwards. Choke points on the map they're crazy. They're crazy. The most balanced maps as I've seen are the Ace Chemical Plant of the core set. It's Ace Chemical Plant is the most balanced map, and then maybe second to that would be the Subway. So yeah, and if you look at Ace and the Subway specifically, there are 2 spots you can stand and clog up the player's ability to get across that map. There's if you look at where the second subway is, if you stand at the end of that subway car, and they have to climb over all the rubble and all that stuff to get to the other side of the map, that's a massive choke point. And then Ace Chemical, there's like a little hallway with 3 rooms that's kind of like on top of I don't know how to explain it, but it's got like steps and a landing, and then you've got 3 rooms up there. And if you stand out in the hallway long enough, you'll prevent the player that's trying to get into the rooms or trying to get to the safe. So that's what I would watch versus mode. It feels like versus mode, the mechanics are plenty balanced, but the maps I feel like play a huge role in how well the actual scenario is balanced. I don't even think, forcing you to play specific heroes or villains plays as much role in balance as the damn map does. So let's see. Listening to the fanboys talk about it kind of sounds like super basic tropes with the theme. Yeah, it's for the 40K lore is so. Oh, I heard an actual like a really really smart, sharp YouTuber who is unapologetically a fan of 40K explain why he likes 40K, and one of his why he likes the 40K lore, and his reasoning was that it is so ridiculous and over the top that it's good. I was thinking about that. I'm like, yeah, okay, I can see where that's coming from. Like it's so beefcake 80s action over the top that you can kind of get behind that and enjoy that. And I'm like, okay, from that instance, sure. It would be like watching literally the movie Over the Top with Sylvester Stallone. that is a movie about arm wrestling and how, how machismo you can get in the arm wrestling slash truck driver world that they depict in that movie. It's like watching Roadhouse and understanding that Roadhouse has a pretty ridiculously stupid story at the heart of it, but at the end of the day, you still want to see Patrick Swayze like punching some dude and like ripping his throat out, right? So this person defended 40K lore in that way. And I was like, all right, man, I like your stream of argument. I'm down, right? I'm in. Okay. I'm gonna just give you full credit. It just doesn't work that way for me. It doesn't. And the way fanboys talk, most fanboys talk, they don't acknowledge that point. So to them, they take it super, super seriously. And then when you start, I noticed one thing you can do with 40K fanboys is you can break 40K fanboys if you start talking about sex. So I don't recommend doing it, but if you introduce the concept of sex in 40K, because 40K historically has had plenty of back in the day, it had plenty of sex and debauchery. It's even had, the R word depicted, because you start talking about Dark Eldar and what Dark Eldar did to people, did to do to planets, and when they take slaves and all this. Like the old fluff would just be like, yeah, dude, it's a messed up galaxy. Here's what's going on. The new fluff is very, 15-year-old incel geared, so you can't talk about stuff like that. And if you look at, for example, if you look at how they've desexualized Slanesh, specifically like Demonetza Slanesh, like there was a point where Demonetza Slanesh actually looked like, they look like they're supposed to be succubi, like alluring female demons. They don't make them look like that no more. Everything just looks like a guy with a wig. They may have a single boob on them, but I don't even think they do that anymore. So they've incelled the fluff. They've scrubbed it so that there's no sexual undertones or overtones or anything like that. Look at Flagellants for Sisters of Battle, right? And how that started. Now it's completely neutered. Like they just clip the balls right off that game. And so you can break people. I had this guy come in, this was almost a year ago, but there's a guy at CQ, and he fancies himself an intellectual. He wears a button-down shirt, he dresses nice, like he has a super important job, that kind of thing. And he was complete. He's like, I love chaos. I love the chaos gods. They're so cool. Except I don't love Slanesh. I think they need to remove Slanesh from the game. He was saying this is like they need to remove Slanesh from the game because it's over sexualizing and all this stuff. It got into that, and then it's like, man, what the hell? What is the matter with you? If you're talking about a chaos, a warp that is basically derived from the human psyche, how are you going to remove sexuality from that and say that it's not, that desire is not arguably one of the biggest motivators in humankind, in human nature, right? We're biological creatures. This is, we want to eat and F. That's what we do. That's what we do. And that's what drives us as biological creatures, the same way any other animal is designed to eat and F. That's what they do. And if you deny that and you want to say, no, we just want a war. Really? What do people war over? People war over resources. They war over ideologies. They war over, and back in the day, they war over, who could have the most conquests, both in land resources and, yes, sexually. Yes, breeding rights. That's why all animals fight. And to deny that and say, no, there just needs to be the god of bloodshed, the god of magic, and the god of pestilence. Like that's it's so juvenile. And for people to come in and ignore that when you're talking about the quote unquote bad guys is so it's just so pathetic and juvenile to me. I'm sorry. I'm just saying, like, it's how are you going to ignore that? This whole idea that the bad guys that you don't that on site you're angry with the bad guys and you don't like them and you have every right to punch them in the face. No, have you met a bad guy in real life? The bad guys are like your favorite people in the whole world. You love them. That's what makes them good at being bad guys is everybody in the room goes nuts when somebody comes in like that, and they have crazy charisma, and they're good looking, and they're desirable. You either want to be them, or you want to sleep with them. That's what real bad guys are, people, and you don't. But it's this whole, you gotta be either the god of blood or the god of war. Like that's like it. Like I said, it's like 15-year-old incel shit. Basically, that's what that's what that fluff sounds like when you strip it of desire, when you strip it of natural uh, human sexuality and human sensuality. Deny that is just completely, it's psychotic if you ask me. It's like what the hell kind of world that would be like, you know, that would be like let's make a movie about GI Joe that doesn't have any war in it. That's what it sounds like. To completely deny that and say, "Oh yeah, well, Slanesh is the god of." I think they've even kind of changed Slanesh now. I think Slanesh is like the god. They really ran with the Keeper of Secrets and that kind of stuff. So it's not overtly like before. The Keeper of Secrets before is supposed to drive you insane with desire when you saw it. And granted, this like the Keeper of Secrets was like a minotaur with like four boobs. That's what it that's what it used to be. It was like a minotaur with like four boobs and it had a claw, right? And that's what it did. But the idea was the thing was terrifying and and sensual and exciting and desirable, and it drove people mad when they saw it because they didn't know if they wanted to fight it or to F it, right? That was the whole point of Slanesh. And that's why Slanesh was my favorite, like back in the day, back when I liked 40K. That was my favorite Chaos COD because that's the one that made the most sense to me. It's like, man, if you are going to tempt humanity, if you are going to wreck the Eldar race, you're not going to do it by offering them bloodshed. That's just part of the package. You have to have it all. That's the whole thing is sensory overload. If you look at some of the great horror sci-fi movies, like look at Event Horizon, right? That movie is freaking awesome. Event Horizon is about the 40K warp. It is, but they do, but told by adults and read by and viewed by adults, not like angry at the world. Oh man, I'll show you with my chainsword. Not like that. But these are people like that went through the actual, in the movie, their version of the 40K warp, and they came out the other side as just completely tortured and awful and debaucherous human beings, right? Look at this is a weird example, but I'm gonna pull this one out of my ass. But like, look at Blair Witch 2, where they get possessed for a second, and uh, they do this debauchery. They start having sex and stabbing each other, and ripping their eyes out, and that kind of stuff. There's movies like that that depict, okay, when you go through hell, and look at Hellraiser. When you go through hell, when you go through the darkest parts, of course, like debauchery and desire is all part of that. And for this like pseudo, I'm this intellectual guy to come in and go, oh, Sinesh is the worst god. He doesn't make any sense. I think it should only be about violence because you're afraid. You're afraid of your own, like, you like boobs. Like I can't tell you how many arguments I've got with people that's like, over weird stuff. Like, yeah, yeah, I like attractive women. I'm not going to apologize for it. You know what I mean? That's a super offensive position to take these days in the modern day. To go, oh, this woman is conventionally attractive. I also find her attractive because I'm not lying to myself. I'm a red-blooded man. I like that woman. Like, you can't say that. That's gonna, this channel's gonna be banned. So come follow me on Minds, I guess. I don't know. I don't. I haven't built the Minds channel, but we're gonna get banned for saying things like that are natural and happen way more often than anyone in the polite society is would lead you to believe. Someone's conventionally okay. I find them attractive. You can't do that. It has to be, oh, well, this person's brave and I find that attractive. It's supposed to be more like that. Uh, and that's what's allowed. That's what you're allowed to say. Anyways, I'm sure I'm lagging because Google's probably trying to find ways to get rid of me. Because I said attractive people are attractive. You're attracted to attractive people. It happens. Probably in big trouble for saying something like that. Yeah, it sounds. It's the 40K fluff is it draws a lot of parallels to things like Star Wars and the biblical narrative of good and evil, the savior, the prophecy and the savior, all of that kind of stuff. It also 40K is also it's a universe that could have been interesting, but they scrubbed it of what would have made it interesting, so that they wouldn't offend people, essentially. Chopping people, this is it's a very like American and more British and now more modern view that you're gonna let your kids view a decapitation or a dismemberment. Like, you would rather your kids watch or partake in something like that in a fictional sense than you would to see a natural body, right? Like, right? Having sex is a very natural thing. It happens consistently all the time. It's a reason why we're all here. And you would rather, most parents would rather, their kids watch someone get run over by a car than have them see, two people make love. And it was the oddest thing. It was the oddest thing. And my parents personally, that was their take as well. It's like, let's, we don't need to stigmatize this very natural thing. We don't need to stigmatize that. We need to be out in the open with our kids about that. And my parents were very out in the open with it. But even them, they were like, yeah, you can watch violent stuff too, because we know that as long as you understand, that's not the reality. That's not the norm. But yeah, drop a steel coat on these. I mean, these aren't done, but they're table ready, right? If I want to use this model tomorrow night, I can field this model. Speaking of which, Nelson, if you are around tomorrow night, let's play some Malifaux, dude. Let's do it. I got table. I got extra crews. Come on, man. I will, however, I know you want to play the Showgirls. I would steer you away from that initially, because that is a very high degree of difficulty crew, and I think you would. It's not. I'm not calling you dumb or anything like that, but I think the complexity of that crew, trying to learn that crew while trying to learn the core game at the same time, is probably a bit much for anybody. I mean, even when I first started playing Malifaux, I knew that going in with Colette, So I bought myself a Rasputina crew and played my early games with Rasputina, and then quickly, once I felt like I had a good enough grasp of the mechanics, then I moved over to Colette, and I would recommend. You're starting G with your yeah. You're starting with your ice skull. Yeah. No, come on, man. Come on down. Let's play a game. Serious. Let's do it. Play a short one. I'll teach you the game. I will make time for you, man. You'll be home in time to let your dog out. Promise. We will make this happen. We'll come, you know. You can buy me a beer and I will teach you the game. How about that? Come on down, buy me a beer. You don't have to. You don't have to buy me a beer. But yeah, come on down, have a beer with me, and then I'll teach you how to play. And I have, for if you wanted to learn, I have Karis, who is also pretty straightforward master to learn with. We would probably be learning with with henchmen though. So I would give you either Firestarter or Carlos or Fitzsimmons. I would probably do Sunday. I can't. I've got my Guild Ball event Sunday, so I can't really do that. Now, full disclosure, a lot of the Guild Ball players are saying I can't make it, and a lot of them are more interested in Malifaux at the moment anyway. So we might even be like, okay, we only got like 3 or 4 people for the tournament. Let's play some Malifaux. We might do that. That might be a thing. Yeah, let's see. My in-laws are total bohemians. I doubt that's how my kids are going to grow up. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's my parents didn't they didn't do this. They didn't like expose me to stuff from like a liberal angle. It wasn't that. It was more of a pragmatic thing. You got to understand, my parents came over from the Philippines where life is raw. Right? Life is raw and brutal and honest. And the fact that they're now in a safe country, raising kids and being proud to be American, being proud to naturalize and be part of a great nation. The last thing that they were worried about was, oh my God, my son saw a boob. Like they didn't. It wasn't from a. It really wasn't from a, hey, we're gonna free this. It was like, no, you need to know about it eventually. We don't want to stigmatize it because you make it more, obviously you make it more desirable when you make it verboten, that kind of thing. So yeah, there's some crazy lag going on. I apologize to everybody, but yeah, there's crazy lag. Yep. What do you guys think? I think that seam is gonna drive me crazy. Ugh, that is gonna drive me crazy. Oh gosh. It's on both sides. There's no good way of but it does look cool. We will admit that. It does look cool. I did mine a lot more natural looking than the studio art. The studio art has it all like pretty much blue and gray, and I get that because they were trying to capture December at the same time. So December, robots, Marcus with the beast aspect. They were throwing the whole Arcanist faction together, and this is what it looks like when you put it all together. But I just wanted mine to look more. I was thinking of that cool gold Minotaur from the old Sinbad movies. Thought that was awesome. So there's that. And then there's Misstep here. She's all right. She's okay. She's, I could punch her up, do a little bit more detail on her, but at the end of the day, that's kind of where she's gonna be. She'll run across the table, scratch people's eyes out, rah, like that. And then this is my son's blacksmith. Look at the. I don't think he did that on purpose with the shield, but look at that. That's cool. The way the green works, like this is my son with contrast paints, which, like I was saying before, I kind of made a version of contrast paints for him to work with so that he could paint stuff. This looks very close to the rest of the team that he's painted. And then Cinder is boring. She's just boring. She's a boring sculpt. Not really interested in that. So let me reload this. I don't know why, but I'm super hungry right now, and I shouldn't be. I need to go to bed. This is not great. But yeah, I gotta film some Malifaux content though. That's just, come on, that is just a cool mini. Very cool kit. So these are some of the bigger beaters in the Arcanist faction, right? They're both 10 points. They're both 10 soul stones. You can get, if you run a henchman, you get the free effigy, and then you upgrade the effigy such that on turn 3 it turns into a free one of these. Pretty hot. But it's instead of it having 10 wounds, it starts with 6 wounds and then heals up to 7. So it's not bad. This aspect has kind of made it interesting for me to want to play more henchmen. I've always loved playing Cassandra as a henchman. She's like one of my favorite models in all of miniatures, actually, is the Metal Cassandra. One of my favorite miniatures of all time. And running a crew with her is cool. Running a Carlos crew is cool. Then I can film KDM in December. Got to be better than seeing Star Wars 9. Dude, you never know. Maybe we'll break it out, dude. Maybe we'll play it. But anyway, it is super late now. I'm gonna go to bed. Yeah, that's what we got, folks. So stay tuned for some more Malifaux content. I may do some how to play like short videos, how to perform a simple duel and a complex duel and that kind of stuff. And then I got to figure out how to shoot battle reports, because that's also super hard game to film. Super fun to play, super hard to film, but we'll figure it out. All right. So with that, we're going to call this stream to a close. I want to thank everyone for watching. Have a good night, guys, and we'll catch you on the next one.